Nearly 20,000 people in Madison Square Garden on July 23, 2026, saw something they never thought they would see. The 40-year career of Jon Bon Jovi was built on never giving up. He walked to the edge of the stage, put his hand on his chest, and told a packed venue that he had to leave. His bandmates rushed to give him a hug. The crowd stopped talking, and it was all because of something much worse than a sinus infection. The music stopped that night. If you were at Madison Square Garden on July 23rd, you knew from the first song that something wasn't right. Fans who had been to any of the 7 shows in this residency before could feel it right away. Jon's voice no longer had the familiar power it used to have. Instead, it had a thin, strained sound that got worse as time went on. This wasn't a man having a bad night. This man's body was giving out in real time, in front of 20,000 people who paid hundreds of dollars to see him recover. The group sped through 14 songs. They would play between 20 and 23 times a week during this engagement. When they got to Bed of Roses, Jon was barely able to finish singing, so he took his hand off the mic and let the whole arena sing the last few lines for him. Most of the people in that room didn't know they were seeing the beginning of a carefully planned comeback fall apart. Speaking to the crowd before what would be the last song of the night, Jon was honest in a way that most artists would never show on stage. He told them it wasn't like him to let them down and that he knew it. He told them that they had to do one more song because he was really hurt and would need their help. Pat Monahan, lead singer of Train, was just a fan at the arena that night and had nothing to do with the show. He was called backstage and asked to help with the singing on Livin' on a Prayer. The crowd helped Jon get through it, even though Monahan did a lot of the singing. He told the crowd not to throw away their ticket stubs when the song was over because he was going to figure something out. He waved to the crowd of fans, hugged each member of his band one by one, and then walked off stage. Later, his rep said he had been sick with a sinus infection. That was technically true. But anyone who had watched the first 2 shows carefully knew this was about a lot more than just a stuffy nose. A lot of fans on social media were very angry about the cancellation in the hours that followed. A lot of people said it was heartbreaking, but they were still amazed at how hard Jon had worked. Someone who was there wrote that the crowd gave the band their all, and the band did the same. And no matter what, Jon was still their favorite rock star. Someone who commented on Deadline said they had been to the famous 2022 Indianapolis show, which is what caused Jon's surgery. They said it was very worrying to see the same warning signs showing up only 2 weeks into the comeback. The band had cut some of their biggest songs from the set list and shortened the show without telling anyone in public 2 nights before. The trend showed a problem that had been getting worse for more than 10 years. A voice slowly going away. Jon Bon Jovi's voice problems did not begin in 2026. It didn't even begin in 2022 when everyone first heard about his surgery. The problems that led to this crisis started in 2013, which was one of the most chaotic times in the band's history. At the time, not many people outside of the inner circle knew what was going on. Richie Sambora, the guitarist, quit the band without warning in 2013, just hours before a show in Calgary as part of the Because We Can tour. Sambora had been in and out of rehab for years. He later said that he quit because he had to be there for his daughter and deal with serious family issues. Most fans didn't know this though, but his leaving had a terrible effect on Jon's voice. It wasn't just the lead guitar that Sambora played. He was one half of a singing duo that had made Bon Jovi sound unique for 30 years. When Sambora quit, Jon was left to sing for 2 people on the 80 tour dates that were still to go. He had to take all of Sambora's parts and do the harmonies. From what Jon told ARP magazine, things started to go badly after that tour, and he wasn't sure if the damage was to his mind or body. By 2015, it was too late to hide the signs. A rising lack of air, less volume, and times when the pitch would slip. Jon told the How to Fail podcast that his body had fallen apart and he wasn't even sure how bad it was. To fix it himself, he did everything you could think of. He talked about all of them in the Hulu documentary series. Thank You, Good Night. Acupuncture, lasers, vitamins, collagen treatments, and working out. From 2015 to 2019, he pushed through tours and concerts even though the instrument he relied on the most was slowly breaking down under him. If you think about it for a moment, the loneliness of knowing something is wrong with the one thing that makes you who you are but can't fix it no matter what you do. That is a kind of pain that most people will never fully understand. Then there was a pandemic, and Jon's voice didn't get better during the 2-year break from touring that COVID made all musicians take. It showed how badly it had gotten worse. When Bon Jovi started playing again in 2022, it was clear that things had changed. In the end, Jon would only believe the person who told him the truth. The words that changed everything. Jon was sure he had given the crowd his heart when he left the stage after a 2022 arena show in Nashville. He told his wife Dorothea that everything went well. When she looked at him, she said something that would change the rest of his life. She told him it wasn't great and that she had seen him do better. Since high school, Jon and Dorothea have been together. They got married in 1989 and have been through every part of Bon Jovi's 40-year run together. Later, Jon told People magazine that the talk was very sad and heartbreaking, but that she was the only one who could have told him the truth. He talked about how everyone else around a rock star is either paid to say what the star wants or a fan who really wants the star to do well. However, Dorothea was the only person he knew would never lie to him about how they felt about him. Also, look at what his brain did with that information. He told people that as soon as he heard her words, a voice in his head told him it was time to finish his work. It's not time to go to the doctor. It's not time to rest. He thought right away that it was over. That tells you everything you need to know about the mental weight this man had been carrying for years without telling anyone. It's not just a business worry to be afraid of losing your voice when it's a big part of who you are. It is a problem of existence. Jon got to the hospital by himself in a few days. He did not send a helper. He didn't set up a meeting for the following week. He got in his car by himself and drove because he was so desperate to save what little he could still do. The doctors were even surprised by what they saw when they showed him what was going on inside his throat, the cord that is dying. Jon had no idea how bad the diagnosis would be. One of his voice cords had actually shrunk away. In the Hulu documentary series, he talked about how vocal cords should be parallel and about the same thickness. But one of his had gotten as big as a thumb and the other had gotten as small as a pinky. Every time he tried to sing, the weak cord was being pushed away by the strong one. He himself said that the cord was dying. As people get older, their vocal folds thin out, which is part of what the doctor told them. But after 40 years of acting at the highest level, singing arena anthems 4 nights a week, the process had sped up a lot faster than usual. Jon didn't understand because he had always taken great care of his voice. He never drank or smoked, and he always warmed up before shows and cooled down afterward. The man told The Independent that he had sung with Pavarotti and that he was a trained singer who had been singing for 40 years. He wasn't a beginner whose carelessness had ruined his voice. Still, the instrument was broken anyway. 2 pieces of Gore-Tex were put on the outside of the vocal cords but inside the neck by the surgeon during a process called medialization. In the documentary, Jon said it was like getting a facelift for your voice cords. The advanced implant was made to pull the frayed cord back into place so that both sides would fire equally again. Even though the surgery went well, he would have to work hard for 3 years to learn how to use his throat voice again. Jon still couldn't commit to a tour 19 months after the surgery. Even though the band's new album was almost ready to come out, no one knew if the lead singer would ever play on stage again. In the Hulu docuseries, Jon said that he had many real doubts during that time, but he kept finding what he called a little ray of hope to keep going, only to get hit in the face with another failure the next day. He said on the Today Show that you need to be well in mind, body and spirit to do it. He wasn't there yet. Jon gave an interview to the Sunday Times in April 2024 that made waves in the music world. He said he was done if his singing wasn't good and he couldn't be the person he used to be. He was okay with that. He said that he was like a quarterback who was about to throw his last pass. Then he said the line that showed how scared he really was. He said that he would never have to be fat like Elvis. Jon went to voice therapy every day to try to fix something he wasn't sure could be fixed. While he was there, something amazing happened nearby. The group of brothers who kept the line. Not a single Bon Jovi member left. No one began looking for other work. No one brought up the idea of retiring. Torres Tico stayed behind the drums. David Bryan stayed in front of the keyboards. Hugh McDonald, John Shanks, Everett Bradley, Phil X and others all showed up to practices as if they were already planning a tour, even though there was no date in sight and no promise that one would ever come. Jon told the magazine People in June 2026 that each of them had given up a lot more than the others. They told him they were with him and were at every play every day. He told them that his love for them had grown stronger. And if you've ever been through something scary, you know how important it is to have people around you who won't leave, even if you don't know what will happen. That much loyalty doesn't just keep a job going. It keeps the person going in their job. Richie Sambora, who hadn't played with the band since leaving in 2013, said in public that he would return if Jon got better. Sambora told the Allison Hagendorf show that he would go play with Jon if he got his voice back. He said that he had songs ready and that anyone could hear them. 13 years after leaving, the person who may have set off the chain of events that made Jon's voice fade was now saying that he was open to coming back. What that says about how important what was at stake is everything. Jon talked about the Forever Tour on the Today Show in October 2025. All 9 nights at Madison Square Garden were sold out. It was time for the comeback. After 16 days of proof, there was a crash. The house lights went down in a sold-out Madison Square Garden on July 7, 2026. There was no first act. A little after 7:30 p.m., the lights came on and Bon Jovi left the stage. Jon began by singing a cover of With a Little Help from My Friends in the soulful gospel style that made Joe Cocker famous. It almost hurt that the choice was so well thought out. After 4 years of silence, surgery, therapy, doubt, and fear, those words meant a lot more than just nostalgia. Jon told them that he hadn't heard a live crowd in 4 years and thanked them for putting up with him. The reviews from the first night were positive and honest. He had a very different voice from Bon Jovi in the 1980s. Instead of running across the arena floor, he stayed put on stage by holding the mic's stand or strumming his guitar. But the 21-song setlist showed that he was physically strong enough to play a full concert. It really did come back. The band got into a groove over the next 7 shows and fans flew in from all over the world for the residency. On any given night, you could hear at least 5 different languages in the MSG hallway. But 9 shows in less than 3 weeks is a tough schedule for any singer, even one whose voice has never been hurt. A 64-year-old man whose voice cords were held together by Gore-Tex implants knew it was a risk he was willing to take. And by the 6th night the cracks were already clear. It was a quiet move, but the band took Wanted Dead or Alive and Always off the set list. These were 2 of the most requested songs. By night 8, Jon's body had already made up its mind, the promise and the cost. Before Jon left the stage on July 23, he told the crowd something that was so important that it was almost too heavy to bear. He told them to keep their ticket stubs because he was going to figure out how to change the date. Then he said something that made everyone cry. He told them he was happy and would see them soon. As of a few days after the cancellation, all 5 European stadium dates and the 9th and final MSG show on July 26 were still set. It still said that the band would be playing at Edinburgh's Murrayfield Stadium on August 28, Dublin's Croke Park on August 30, and London's Wembley Stadium 3 times in September. Not only would cancelling any of those shows cost the band a lot of money and hurt their fans a lot, but tens of thousands of fans had already booked flights and hotels from all over the world. But Jon made a mark in 2024. He said that he would never be the kind of artist who puts on bad shows out of pride or duty. He said that being fat wasn't necessary for him. The man who drove himself to the hospital by himself in 2022 because he needed to save his voice so badly now had to do the same math that he thought surgery would take care of for good. Right away, the sinus infection was what led to what happened on July 23rd. The real story, though, is about a man who has promised his fans nothing less than everything for 40 years, and his remade body may no longer be able to keep that promise. Jon Bon Jovi made his name by being strong. In 1983, he opened for ZZ Top at Madison Square Garden. He was from Sayreville, New Jersey, and went on to sell more than 130 million songs around the world. His band's lineup has changed, and his original bassist Alec John Such died in June 2022. He has also been through a decade of silent vocal decline, surgery that could have ended his career, and 3 years of rehabilitation that almost made him quit. He told the Sunday Times that being 60 is not the same as being 50, and that his biggest fear was forgetting how to sing completely. He said that he would be crushed if he could never do it again. The Forever Tour will either live up to its name or be the end of one of the most amazing rock careers ever. Depends on how well Jon Bon Jovi's voice holds up in the coming weeks. One man stood at the edge of Madison Square Garden with his hand on his chest and chose honesty over performance one more time. That man is the only one who really knows the answer. Tell us in the comments what you think Jon should do next, and if you think the comeback can still happen after this setback. Please share this with anyone who has been following this amazing story, as we have a lot more to talk about.